For a great cup of joe, there's one thing you should know. Your morning brew can also be playful. Buff Boy Brewing guys make the temperature rise, and you surely feel naughty when you swallow our coffee. If you want some real heat, give your mouth a fine treat. You will want some more, rest assured. Buff Boy Brewing, you can't get enough of.
It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Thank you very much, Larson. Jeremy Bradley here. This is The Scribble. Thanks for tuning in on your favorite podcast app. Have you ever felt redemption when maybe somebody from your past who put you down, who made you feel like garbage, who just made you feel either worthless or useless? Did you ever have one of those turning points where you're like, look at me now, baby. Look at me now. It's a bit of a victory lap when you've succeeded and they're kind of like, where are they? What's happening with their life? What's going on with them? Did you look that up? Did you look them up? Did you Facebook them? Did you Google them to see what's happening? I've got a story for you and quite a bit to talk about on The Scribble. And it's starting right after this.
Isn't it crazy that you wait for payday, but before you know it, you're strapped for cash again? It's time to stop blowing your money and become a smart spender with the book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com. Learn simple ways to cut costs at home every day and during special times of the year. Don't go broke at Christmas. Don't remortgage the house for a fancy vacation. The book is filled with tips to save you money throughout the year. Check out the best-selling book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com or on Amazon and iTunes.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on The Scribble. I'm going to open with a very provocative, maybe not macabre, I don't know. Have you ever been happy when somebody died? I paused there for a moment for you to kind of either clutch your pearls or just be like, yep, I have. I've never really had anybody in my life who was that terrible, right? Like, I mean, you hear sometimes people will go and say that, you know, if their parent was, you know, really, really bad to them, you know, abusive or what have you, that, oh, I'm glad she's dead, I'm glad he's dead, whatever. I mean, I don't know, right? I mean, I wish them maybe ill will, but never that they die, because I'm an asshole like that. But, so I got together with a friend the other day, and when I knew, like, we hadn't seen each other in a while, but when I knew that we were going to get together because we had reconnected and were like, hey, you know what, I haven't seen you. I then started to remember other people from that time in my life, or that era of my life. And it was back when I was 20, I don't even know. I guess I was early 20s anyway. I don't know the exact age. But there was a group of people that, I mean, sometimes I either knew them as acquaintances or I just saw them around, maybe at the bar or something. So all of these names kind of started flooding back to me. Oh yeah, there was that guy Peter, there was that guy Mike, there was that guy so-and-so. And so, like a lot of people, I guess, did during the pandemic, I was kind of like, well, let me just start either Googling them or like looking at Facebooking and just see. And there was one guy that I went to, he was in my high school, and he was a model at the time. His name was Aaron. And I remember thinking, first of all, I thought he was hot. I was kind of like, oh my God, he's gorgeous. And so when I remembered him, as I was looking through going through different high school names and things, I was like, what was his last name? So I found him online. He is so fat and ugly now. And I was sort of like, wow, what a difference, 20 years or so, 25 years makes, because so that was in grade 11. So I would have been 16 or 17 at the time. So not quite. So yeah, a little over 20 years anyway. And I was like, oh, I wonder, he's married, he's plumped up, he's fat. I was like, wow, okay then. Okay, great. And so I've had a bit of fun with that. Not to just go and say like, oh my God, my life is better than his, or oh, I turned out better. So I get to, I don't want to say that I was preparing for the get together, because it was almost sounding like I was, doing my research or creeping this person. Meanwhile, I hadn't known him for a long time. So there was a guy, Mike, that we both knew, and I don't know if you remember. Now I'm going to be talking to the older gay folks here. There was a show called Queer as Folk back in the day. And there was a character on that show named Brian Kinney. And he was kind of the good-looking guy, and he was kind of just the stud. Like, he was the one that, he just had these youthful looks, and he was kind of the hottie that everybody wanted to fuck, or to be fucked by, whatever. I just wanted to get with. Whether it was wanting to just as a one-night stand, be in a relationship, party with him, like, he was kind of that guy. And so, believe it or not, there was a guy named Mike who kind of, he was sort of, I don't want to say he looked like him, but there was a resemblance anyway, and he really played up on that. Mike did. And so when you're going to, the bar, this was back when in Canada and Winnipeg anyway, gay bars were actually kind of a thing. I don't know that they are anymore because I'm an old married woman. I don't. And so I was kind of like, oh my God. So Mike was a lawyer. He was, so he had a really decent profession. He was, and so that to me was sexy because I was kind of like, oh my God, like this, he's a lawyer. Like this is a grown up dude, he was only a few years older than me. I don't know. He was not quite 10 years older than me. He was probably maybe about 6 to 8 years older than me. But there was still just there was that status thing where it was like, oh my God, I'm talking to this guy. Oh, he knows who I am. And so years ago, because he was the player and, I was very serious. I was not hooking up with people. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice already. Let me get some water. I was not having one night stands. I was not hooking up. And so for somebody like Mike, I wouldn't have been appealing to him. Like, he maybe would have put in 1 or 2 dates, but then if he wasn't putting in, get it what I'm saying here? If he wasn't putting in after those 2 dates, then you just didn't hear from him, or there was, he wasn't answering your call. Something came up, like he just, disappeared off the face of the earth. And so I remember I don't know that it was catfishing. I don't know. I played a trick on him. This is back still when I lived at my parents' house. And I had arranged for him to come to my place and to just hang out. And I think that I sort of led him on to believe that it was going to be a hookup. And I don't know that I'd sent him somebody else's picture because that would have just been really weird. Like, why would I have him come there and they'll just be like, it's me? I've never understood why people do that on Catfish if the intent is to actually meet the person. So I probably either just sent like, picture of my chest or something. I don't know. I've never taken nudes, by the way, so I'll be very clear on that. I know for a fact I've never done that. But anyway, so he ended up pulling into the driveway in the back, and then he came in, and he came to the door, and so when he saw me, I guess he was just pissed off because he was like, he got tricked or whatever, and then he left. Now, I realized that because this guy's a lawyer, he's probably not going to do, he's not going to, hit me, or because I knew who he was, right? Like, that was the thing. So anyway, I ended up going to a movie with him back in the day. So now I'm jumping back to when I was in my early 20s. And I was kind of like, oh my God, wasn't really a date because all of his friends were there too, but I was hanging out with the cool kids. Like, I was part of that group. And so we went to a movie, and then we went to a restaurant after, and there probably was a push for him. Like, he probably was implying like, okay, hey, let's get to the good stuff, whatever. But I was just not doing it. Or I wasn't picking up on it, or I was brushing it off or something, and then eventually, So when I was getting together with my friend, fast forward now back to present day, when I was kind of like, oh, I'm getting together with my friend, so then that's when you have all these names coming up, Peter, Mike, whoever, and I was like, I wonder what Mike, So I ended up Googling, or his name, and I'm looking, and all of a sudden I'm seeing an obituary, and I'm seeing other things, and I thought, no way is this guy dead. Like, how is that? That can't be the same. So I click on it. There's the picture. And I was like, no shit. Wow. And then, you know what? I can name him because he's dead now. That's fine. His name was Mike Law. Believe it or not, yes, the lawyer with the last name Law. His name was Mike Law. And so I was kind of like, oh my God. But then as I was Googling, not only did I find obituaries, I found that he got into big time trouble for stealing money from a law firm that he was working at. So, and now again, this isn't me gossiping. I'm not going to get sued by anybody. Like, it was in the news. Like I said, Google it. You can find it. And I was like, whoa. So he had this like, crazy, crazy life where he basically lost his job. He was disbarred. I think that's the term, right? Disbarred. He wasn't allowed to, work for that company or do whatever anymore. And I thought, wow, this is crazy. So as I'm getting together with my friend, I'm like, well, we can gossip about Mike because, like what's the deal with that? Like, what happened? Maybe he stayed in touch with him and then he knows what caused the death or like what happened. So that was kind of one of these things that we were going for lunch, and I thought, I don't want to bring it up right away, but like, I kind of do want to bring it up right away because I'm a good dick. I'm a good gossip. Well, I'm a good dick, but Mike would never have known. And so I was kind of like, well, that's really, I want to know if my, former friend knows the story. You must know the tea. So we get together for lunch and we're having conversation, we're catching up. And the last time I saw this friend, I wasn't married. I probably was still living with my parents. Like, we hadn't seen each other in a very long time. We get together, we have lunch. And so, we're having some laughs, we're catching up. And then I said, what happened to Mike? Just out of nowhere. And he starts laughing and he's like, that was the most, and I still can hear him. He used the word spectacular. He's like, that was the most spectacular downfall ever. And I was like, wow, that's pretty harsh, but there's a reason that you're using that language, so tell me the story. And I guess apparently Mike had just become this big asshole. Like, he just spiraled out of control. It was his, it was drug use. He was trying to power trip, again, thinking that he's Mr. Gay God and he can have anyone do. And so he's partying and he's doing all these drugs and he's just abusing people and he's crushing people and he's stealing money. And because I guess he burned so many bridges and ruined so many friendships, people were legitimately happy that Mike Law was dead. Now, this is what I'm saying. Now, like I said, I didn't care either way. I hadn't thought of this guy for however many years because, whatever. But I thought, wow, that's crazy. So then I'm starting to hear all these other stories about kind of what happened, and he was partying, and he brought a guy over for a hookup, and he basically collapsed in the bathroom. They were doing drugs, and I just thought, wow, that is so wild. Now, I don't want anybody to think that I'm making fun of or making light of drug addiction or anything like that, but there is a bit of sweetness when you're kind of like, wow, people are sort of, in a roundabout way, reveling that this guy died because he either stole money from them, he did things, right? So that brings me back to that question right at the very beginning of the segment is, have you ever been happy that somebody died? Like, I never had, and I said that I've never had because I've just, I don't know, I guess I'd never really had that close of a relationship with anybody that impacted me so, I've never been done wrong by anybody so badly that I felt that way about them, So to hear that people were kind of like, yeah, no, good riddance, he's dead. But to use the word spectacular, that was the most spectacular downfall, was the words that he used to describe the death of Mike Law. I thought that's wild. And again, people wouldn't say that lightly, right? Obviously, there's going to be a reason. And sure as shit there was, because that, I guess he's my friend, right? That friend got burnt by Mike Law and was kind of like, see you, buddy. Peace out. Deuces. In the ground. I've never had a conversation with somebody like that before. I've spoken to a lot of people about a lot of things. I've never had basically somebody go and say, glad that asshole's dead. I've never had that. I've never had that. It was weird to me. Did I feel guilty having that conversation? I guess yes and no, right? Because it's a human life, so you know that there's going to be family members suffering, perhaps, right? Oh, maybe he screwed over his family members. I don't know, but I'm sure there's somebody that cared about him. So you do kind of have that, like, oh, this was a human being. We can't be entirely heartless. But then I kind of started thinking about the way he treated me and how he made me feel and what he was doing to young guys. Because once I clued into it, once I knew sort of his game, once I kind of figured it out, and really all you had to do was watch Queer as Folk to know that that's how the character Brian Kinney acted. It's a mirror image. I mean, this is exactly how this dude is living his life, is revolving around this character. So you knew that this character on the show played games and was just looking to say what he had to get in your pants. So as we're having this conversation, I was sort of like, yeah, he was an asshole to me. Yeah, he was kind of a dick. He did hurt them. He strung so many young guys along, making them think or making, and there you go. So fuck you, Michael. No, it was very, it was a very different conversation. Here we are, like, now we're not only reuniting after all these years of not seeing each other, we're bonding over somebody's death. It was a very bizarre thing. So have you ever been happy when somebody's died? Send me an email, live@jbonair.com. I also did get some revenge. We're going back probably 15 years ago or so. So on that same subject, when I was a young gay man, I had very low self-esteem. I was desperately needing somebody to be in a relationship with, to make me happy. Trust me, I flipped out of that once I kind of got sick of the games that guys were playing. And then also, too, I had just a change of outlook on life where I was kind of like, no, I'm going to make myself happy. It's me first. I'm not, putting all these people ahead of my own feelings and emotions and well-being. So there was a guy, similar situation, where I was essentially throwing myself at him. Like, just if the fact that he was giving me the time of day, that he answered my phone call, that he spent time with me in the afternoon. Like, I just felt like that was just such a privilege. It was just such an honor. And here's another situation where when I am that 20-something guy living at home with my parents still, in the basement, and he's got his own place, he's got his own car, he's got a job downtown in one of the office towers, and here I am still, in school. I was 20, 21, I guess. I was in college, and I would have done anything. If he told me to skip school or to quit my job so I can spend more time with him, I would have done it. I totally would have done it. And he treated me badly. Same kind of a deal where he was wanting basically to get laid. I wasn't doing something like that. I wanted a relationship. I wanted to hang out. I wanted to go out and do things. I wanted to go for dinner. He was like, come over to my place. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. We'll go out in public. And he then lost his job downtown in that nice, fun office or whatever. And I was the managing editor at a publishing company, so I had a great paying job, an office that he ended up, and so somehow we ended up years had gone by. I don't know how long, maybe 5 or 6 years, 7 years had gone by, and we either reconnected. I don't know that I was on social media at the time because it was quite a while back, but either I texted him or maybe I saw him, whatever, on MSN or a chat room or something, and we got together for lunch. And so I was living in my own house at the time. I bought my house. I didn't have a roommate. He was living in a house with a roommate and he was renting it. I later found out. But I just remember thinking like I worked at Party City too at the time too. So when I first met him, I was working at Party City. I was working a retail job. And then then we have that break where we had no contact. Then we reconnected when I was working at the publishing company and I had really started to focus on my writing career. And so we said, we'll get together for lunch. He came to my office. He picked me up for lunch and he was kind of like, oh, wow, you got a nice office here. Like, you're 25 years old or whatever. And he was, I guess, in his 30s at that point. But that perpetual, like, boyish gay boy. He was always a gay boy. He was never a man. He was always the gay boy. And I kind of thought, when are you going to grow up, though? Like, you're actually a man. You're in your 30s now. Call yourself a man. Just, it's going to make him feel old. Call yourself a man. We ended up going for lunch to a nice Italian restaurant. And I remember him saying to me that, like, wow, like you've grown up. Like, I'm so happy that, and I was starting to do the radio thing at the time. So I was also covering red carpets and, doing celebrity interviews and things. And he was then working at a fruit market. He was working in a fruit market. So he went from having like an IT job in a downtown tower office building to then working at a fruit market with an apron and a smock and whatever. So, and I'm not knocking that job. I'm just saying it was almost like a how the mighty have fallen kind of a thing, because here I am. Here's this guy who was making me feel, when I worked at Party City, like I just was some young kid who wasn't a grown-up, who had no responsibility, who was, I was beneath him. You're living in your parents' basement and you work a retail job. I have my own place and a car and an office job. Like, he was just, and so again, he played these games. He just wanted the young blonde guys, which is what I was at the time. And so here we are now, all these years later. I'm doing the victory lap because it's like, I've got the fucking kick-ass job. I don't have to rush back to work. I'm good. I can go back whenever I want. I've got my own house that I don't have a roommate that's helping me pay for. There was something so sweet about that. Now, after that lunch, and it was a fine lunch, it's not like I like told him off and was like, fuck you, asshole, and then walked out. We just lost contact. I've never spoken to him again. I've never even messaged him again. I think it was just one of those things where I needed the closure to kind of be like, yeah, you know what? I kind of feel good about it. Do I harbor any... Do I keep those feelings bottled up from, 20 years ago when he was making me feel like I was less than him? No, I don't when I tell the story, obviously when I think about it, but I'm not sitting here going every day, wow, that guy Sean he really hurt me. He really hurt me in the long term. Oh, he made me. Well, I've got a fucking amazing husband who's 10 times the man Sean ever would have been. So, it's not like he destroyed me for all men or for the rest of my life, or that, he scared me off of relationships. That's not the case at all. But you're kind of just like, wow. So have you ever had a moment like that too? Where it was somebody who maybe told you that you weren't good enough to do something or that you wouldn't make it. Did you ever have that moment where you could reconnect with them and go, look at me now? Not even necessarily to confront them, not to have it be some big dramatic, you're just, what am I going to say? I'm going to tell them off. But just kind of be like, you know what? I want you to see how good things turned out. Have you ever had a moment like that? Tell me about it. That is one that I definitely want to hear about. Send me an email, live@jbonair.com, live@jbonair.com. They're wrapping me up. We got to go. Take a break. Back on the Scribble right after this.
Ever had something to get off your chest but never had the balls to say it? That's a load of crap. Speak Free with JB.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Your chance to tell it like it is and not care what anybody else thinks. Have your say on issues of the day. Join newspaper and radio columnist Jeremy Bradley as he tells it like it is. Hundreds of thousands of people have stopped by, including some well-known celebrities who have had a chat with JB and speak candidly about what's really going on in the world. You can join them too. Have a rant or a rave. Be brave and head on over to www.speakfreewithjb.com now.
It's never too early to start thinking about your next holiday. Have you checked out Mexico recently? From tequila tasting, swimming with horses, to ziplining through the jungle and watching whales and dolphins in their natural habitat, Puerto Vallarta has it all. Visit mexico.jbonair.com to see all the fun PV has to offer. That's at mexico.jbonair.com for hundreds of photos, interviews, and videos from around the tourist hotspot. Check out mexico.jbonair.com for all the fun. That's mexico.jbonair.com.
Who are the Kardashians feuding with now? What did that little thug Justin Bieber do this time? Who's getting hitched? And who's headed for Splitsville? Hear the latest celebrity news and gossip every day on Entertainment Wrap-Up. The good, the bad, the ugly, but mostly the ridiculously hilarious. It's all recapped in this daily segment at entertainmentwrapup.com. Have a laugh at the expense of the rich and famous when they take themselves way too seriously. It's 3 minutes of time-wasting fun at entertainmentwrapup.com. Check out Entertainment Wrap-Up at entertainmentwrapup.com. Brought to you by Speak Free Books.
We hear you chirping. Get scribbling. Tweet up the Scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradley. It's all going down right now on Twitter at The Scribble Show and at thescribbleshow.com.
JB here, back on the Scribble. As winter continues, I'm sort of laughing about, a couple weeks ago there were all these weather warnings and things about how cold it is, especially. See, I'm from Canada, right? So we're kind of used to the cold weather, like we sort of just get it. And now our winter in Winnipeg started a little bit late. I guess it started, I guess technically it starts, December 21st? But normally the winter weather, I'm not saying on the calendar it officially started. I'm saying just the temperature change. Happens usually around Halloween, and then into November is when you at least sort of get your first snow, and then the frigid temperatures. It really only kind of hit mid-January this year. And so it's always funny to be in a place that is traditionally cold in the winter, because that's what winter is. That's how we were taught when we were growing up. Winter is snow and cold and snowmen and frostbite and, tobogganing or, whatever. And maybe it's regional because, again, that's where we grew up. But it's always sort of funny because you're watching the news and there's these weather alerts and there's all these like flights that are canceled. When CNN was doing the what do you call it? Not the primaries. It was called I'm not American and none of our people here are Americans. Sorry, say it again. Tim just told me in my ear. It was Tim, right? Tim, say that again. Who was it? Or what was it? Iowa caucuses. That's what it was. Thank you. That the CNN picture, like the images that they were showing, kept they kept stopping. They were getting choppy, and the anchors kept going and saying, "Oh, it's the cold, it's the weather." And I'm sitting there going, I don't know about that, because the Canadian media outlets broadcast live all winter. I've never heard of that, and I'm in the media. I've never heard about it being too cold to get a live signal, because that's just not how it works. Like, I don't know. It just doesn't work that way. Maybe, maybe there's just something else going on. But so it's really funny when there's all these, it's the coldest winter on record. And I'm sitting there going, I actually thought it was colder when I was growing up as a kid. When we would have minus 30 something. It was, minus 50 with the wind chill or whatever it was. We're not getting that really now. We maybe had a couple of days where it was minus 30, minus 35. But it's sort of funny, because I'm sitting there going, well, we're not getting it as cold as most people are, but everybody's like freaking out. Vancouver they stay off the roads, and I'm thinking, holy fuck, this is Canada. Now, again, I realize they don't generally get snow, but you're kind of just like, but it's winter though. Like, I'm not quite sure what you were expecting, right? I mean, and same thing, if it's North Dakota or if it's Colorado or wherever, those are snowy places. And so it's funny this time of year. And my mom is the same way, where she will either remember how cold it was last winter, or she'll have the exact opposite, where it's kind of like, it's like she's never been in winter before. Like, she's never experienced the temperature that cold. And like I just said, it was colder years ago for us. And it just always makes me feel kind of strange, where it's like, maybe it's a shock to the system at the very beginning of the season, right? You haven't had snow, you haven't had minus 20, minus 30 for months. And then that first couple of times, it does take its toll and it hits you. But then, like, we're used to it though. That's where we're from. So I'm not quite sure why people have that reaction. It's shitty weather to be in. You don't want to be in it. But it's not world stopping. It's not everything is shutting down or whatever, because so when you hear in some of these places where the city shuts down because there's snow, first of all, I get that maybe they don't have the snow plows and their crews and the equipment like Winnipeg does, because they don't normally get that sort of weather. But again, we kind of are just like, that's all the snow they got and it's shutting down. Okay. So you almost want to say it's first world problems, right? That's sort of that whole, where it's like, oh, really feel sorry for first world problems. But yeah, we're kind of looking at that going, really? Like, they're shutting down. There was that show on, was it National Geographic with the Alaskan airport? I can't think of what it was called. Somebody will tell me, I hope. Ice Airport? Say it. I'm talking and they're talking in my ear at the same time. Ice Airport, Alaska? We'll check on it. But anyway, and so they show the Ted Stevens Airport in Alaska, and they even say on there, like, the airport never shuts down for weather problems. They have, like, it could be blizzarding. They've never shut down the airport. And I'm sitting there going, sorry, so if Alaska can make it work, sure, their winter is going to be a little bit more extreme, and yes, they're going to have the equipment because of the snow, but I mean, they've figured it out. Like, they kind of get it. And it's the same thing with Winnipeg. I mean, it's a big city, sure, but maybe that first snow, everybody kind of forgets how to drive, or whatever, or it takes them a little bit longer to clear the streets, so you have to adapt. But I don't know. We had it. Was it last year where they were basically, I don't know if it was April or if it was maybe it was a spring thing, where they were forecasting, like, you stock up on everything. Get your medications, get your foods, have extra batteries, have bottled water. Like, this shit is gonna be insane. And there was a little bit of sort of like light flurry. Maybe there wasn't even that. And so I remember going out. I made a video to kind of mock. I was standing in the front door. I'm like, okay, you guys, I'm going to open the door. It is crazy out there. You guys just watch this. And then I go out there and it was like, okay, like I can't even see across the street. Meanwhile, you could. And I was just totally playing out. And after all was said and done, you had everybody mocking the meteorologists and all the warnings going, really? Like, this wasn't even as much snow as we would normally get during a regular snowfall. That's where they go and blame the models, the satellites, the picture, the forecast, whatever. Well, Okay, well then maybe we don't even need you guys doing that anymore. It's not even, I get that you can't necessarily predict, but if you got all these satellites, why are you spending millions of dollars then if it's not even going to just let us look outside and go, oh, it looks cloudy over there. Perhaps it's going to rain today. Right? Like, isn't that, if you were that wrong at your job all the time, would you still have your job? I'm just, but that's where they fall back and go and say, well, it's not my fault I was wrong. It's the technology. You can't predict the weather. Well, then what's the point of your job? Like, why do you do it then? I don't get it. Help me understand. All right, we're late. We got to go. Are we ending already? My name is Jeremy Bradley. This is The Scribble. I will talk to you same time, same place next week. Bye-bye for now.
Want more Scribble? Check out thescribbleshow.com for past shows, celebrity interviews, cheapskate tips, and more. That's at thescribbleshow.com and on Twitter at The Scribble Show. The Scribble is a speak-free media presentation.
If you want some